Leanne Perrins, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Dee. How are you?
Good, good. So, as we go into this interview, then I'll ask you a few little questions along the way. But first of all, the main point of these interviews is so that people can get to know who's on the panel and who's involved in FedWed. So, can you just start off by just telling me, I don't know, an interesting fact about yourself, or just
Oh,
introduce yourself?
interesting fact. The obvious one is my name. It's a Worcestershire sauce, which is really embarrassing. And some
Named
people
after
always
a
think
source.
people think they're the first people. Like, do you know that Leanne Perrins? I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most interesting, embarrassing fact. So I've been shooting weddings for 15 years now, which makes me feel really old.
What year is that? How long is 15 years ago? 2009?
Oh, well, when did 2010, 11, 2000?
Okay. Well,
Yeah, because it's been a good 10 since 2014 was when I felt like I really ramped it up and wanted to actually take it seriously and, do it as a full-time job. But yeah, the first time I picked up a camera this would be my 15th year.
wow. And what did you do? What did you do before 2010? Then before you got into filmmaking?
So my degree was performance studies and television media. So I was like, when I left uni, I didn't know which one to go into. So I thought my best friend wanted to do performance with me because that's where we met on the course. And it was weird because it's not drama and it's not performing arts. It's almost like physical theatre. It's really quite strange. And I still don't really get my degree at all. But we decided to come together and do like a touring theatre company where we'd go around schools and teach them performance because we felt like there wasn't enough performance in schools. And it was just an absolute disaster.
I know.
We were applying for all this funding and trying to get a van, and we called ourselves Swallow the Halo Productions, which is not exactly a very good name. Going into schools, we thought, oh, well, swallow the halo. It means, swallow what you think drama and performances, and we're going to shake it all up and do something really cool. Everything was wrong about it. And so we talk about it now and we just cringe at we'd got a website done, we'd applied for grants to get a van and have it all branded and go around schools, but we had no business plan, no means of being able to fund it. And so, I say we wasted 6 months, but it wasn't a waste. It was, got to hang out with my best friend for 6 months.
Yeah, it's still fun. Life's all about making mistakes and learning from them and rebuilding yourself. And so, to have the confidence to try something as well. Because you could have easily just sat back and thought, oh no, that'll never work.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just really hard, to set anything up. I think I always knew that I wanted to be my own boss, but
yeah.
But then, so I thought, okay, can't do the performance side of things, so I'll go into the television, the media, and then I started working as a runner and went into breakfast telly. So I did GMTV for 2 years, and so that was all really cool. But I was just a runner. I never I think I got up to junior research level when I worked on the Trisha show for. Remember Trisha Goddard?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So I got up to sort of junior research, but I'd never I thought, God, in order for me to get to producer, there's just a really long, horrible, slippery ladder to climb, and I just wasn't willing to to do it. I'd kind of met Dave at that point. He's my now husband from Birmingham, and so I didn't really want to live in London. Knew I wanted to move back, so I was kind of in this situation where I was on a terrible wage, working crazy hours for not a lot of money, and then thought, oh, I'll come back home to Birmingham, settle here, and then I could just get a job at the BBC because that's what happens. And then the BBC had just moved to Salford Keys. There was no production companies whatsoever apart from Maverick in Birmingham, but it was really quite hard to get in. And so I just kind of felt like I just didn't know what to do. I was like, I've picked an industry that's really hard to get into. I'm still only at runner level, so it's not like I can apply for any job that's, a decent wage. So then I was like, well, I can use a camera. I'll film a wedding for free, which we all do, don't we, for the first few. My friend asked me if I'd film their wedding, and I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. Put it on auto. I had one of those big Sony. I borrowed one from a friend who worked in TV, like a Z7, and went and shot her wedding. And then that's it, I guess.
How were you nervous when you were doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember doing my first. I helped someone out at a wedding. They needed a second shooter for half an hour to get a different perspective of a ceremony kind of thing. And I remember when the bride was about to walk down the aisle, I was shaking, thinking, I can't get this wrong.
Yeah, but I didn't realise that I could have bought batteries in the so I had my camera plugged in I stayed in the church. I remember it was like extension lead, and I had my camera plugged in, a wire coming out my camera, and I couldn't move because I was like, there's not really many places I can go because of the wire. It was only until like I realised that, oh, okay, I don't have to have it plugged in. Like it does just take batteries. I just needed to charge up the back. There was 2 ways of powering it. And like,
so when was this wedding then? Because like videography seems to be, or wedding filmmaking is so much more popular now than it was back then.
Yeah.
So like I hear stories, obviously I've got a lot of photographer friends, so I hear stories about them starting out and going, oh, will you shoot my wedding? Because people have had their weddings photographed for such a long time. But like, was this friend of yours looking for a videographer, or did they know that you were handy with a camera and thought, oh, we'll ask Leanne to make some content for us?
Yeah, I don't think at that time anyone was really paying. It was such a luxury. I don't think they would have paid for it. It was like, it would be nice. I was probably a step up from like the uncle with the, with a VHS.
That was the standard though, wasn't it? Like back, I don't know how far back, because I've not been in the industry like pre that far back, but like, wedding videos were just a guy with just a random person with a camcorder. That was what wedding filmmaking was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there wouldn't really be much movement because the tripods would be so big because the cameras were so big that it would literally be that locked off. And I was guilty of it. I used to just pick my position, be too scared to move anywhere and like just stay. And then once I'd got the confidence to actually, take the wire out and move around, but it was still very limited because everything was so heavy. And
so why do you think that wedding filmmaking so much more popular? I know I'm giving you a really big window to work out, but from like, from early 2000s to now, like, why do you think it's a lot of it's to do with social media and the amount of, actual video content we consume, and people want to create their own content? I mean, maybe I've just answered the question for you, but what's your thought on it?
I think that's it. I think that social media, I think that brides have got access now to seeing, it used to be, say, like if someone they knew got married, I mean, you might get a chance of watching like a wedding film on Christmas Day, like if if the family are together and they put their wedding film on, and because that was, wasn't that connection. Whereas now it's like we're so super connected that, you can see people's wedding films from school who you don't even know anymore because they've put it on Instagram or put it on Facebook, and let alone your own circle. So I think there's a pressure to tick all those boxes and think, well, okay, we need this, we need that, we need the videographer, we need it, because everybody has those things. And I think that with video and with film, it's a way to really show off your wedding in a different way from photography. Photography, it will always be that obviously you need the stills, but I think with video there's maybe a bit more willingness to kind of show those moments, like, I don't know, speeches, vows, and like have more to show people rather than just that one sort of classic image that you'd have on the mantelpiece of the bride and groom. That's all that people would see of a wedding. But now it's like overshare, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess another thing is, you just mentioned about the big like uncle with the camcorder on his thing. I guess another reason why it's become more popular is just the gear and equipment that you can use to film videos is, so much better now.
I know, and it's also accessible as well. Like it's the tutorials, the sharing of knowledge, and it's a really nice job, isn't it? Like it's a good job to have. And I think people, especially college leavers, university leavers, that want to get into film, it's it's a profitable industry. So, if you want to be a filmmaker, even if you don't think you want to be a full-time wedding filmmaker, just doing weddings, say on the side, or in my case, just for the first 2 years while I, work out what it is I want to do. And actually it turns out this is what I want to do. But it's it's great. It's a good job to have, especially when you get to travel and you go to all these venues. I think it's that's probably why it's so popular.
So when we just said about the gears improved so much since the dawn of wedding filmmaking. What gear do you use now? Have you got the latest stuff that you're using, or what? Talk me through briefly your equipment you use.
Okay, well, yeah. So I started on the old tape Z7s, and then I actually went to the Canon 5D Mark II, which is what I felt like that was a big, that was a game changer for me. It was when it was like, okay, DSLR, it was like it handheld and everything changed. And then I think I was on the Canon for quite a while, and then I've been Sony now for 5 years. So, and I do still miss Canon. I was listening to Tony's interview when you sent it to me a few days ago, and I was like, actually, I get why she still uses, because I miss the colours. I do. There's something really nostalgic about Canon that I really, really miss, that I can't quite get with the Sonys. But I feel like I'm so used to Sonys now, and I like not having the heavy, like I like they are. I'm quite lazy as well, and I think that having a Sony, like the fact the ISO, that you could basically shoot in the dark. I don't have to worry about
so practical
lighting and stuff like that. They're so the capabilities of the Sonys, but I do miss the Canon. But yeah, so Sony A7S Mark IIIs with primes and just a variety of lenses, gimbal and drone.
Do you have like a go-to lens that you use most of the time, or are you always flipping between multiples? Or
well, it used to be the 85, the G Master, which I absolutely loved, but I got a really bad pain in my hand, I think, because it's so heavy. I had to, and actually it was breaking anyway. So I went through the insurance, and I thought, right, I'm going to get that again. But something I think I bought just to kind of time me over. I just got the 55 mil 1.8. It's nothing special, but I say it's nothing special, but it's one of my favourite lenses. It's not expensive, and it's nowhere near as sexy as the 85 G Master. But it is like it's what my go-to. It's always on one of my body, and then the other one would be 35. I do want to get another 85. It's on my wish list. That's what I want to get.
Yeah.
But another one would just be like the Zeiss, I think 25 mil that I have on the gimbal. So between the two of them, alternate between the two.
Yeah, it's such a interesting topic, because I was speaking to Adam the other day, and he's in the process of upgrading some of his cameras, and like I don't like. I was trying to think, do I need to upgrade if other people are upgrading? Like, I'm not like a gear guy, if that makes sense. Like, I haven't upgraded my stuff since 2019. Yeah. And like, I don't know, it just works for me. Like, my tools are working for me. I'm still making the images I want to make. But yeah, I mean, I could still talk about gear all the time, about stuff that I want, but I'm quite good at holding back. Like, I see stuff that I use, and I'm quite set in my ways, if you know what I mean, which isn't always a good thing as a creative. It's good to try and push yourself out of your comfort zone.
Said for like comfort, when you with weddings, you can't really take many risks. It's different with corporate and commercial stuff where you can. But I think, I know what I need to film a wedding well, and there's all these extra things I can get that can help and make it look even better, or X, Y, Z. But I think for me, it's like I've even got to the point now where, like with the drone, I can get all my establishes and do everything just with the drone, because the minis are so light and they're so tiny and they're so easy to fly that you can just, it's like I can get all my establishes done with that, and then I've just got a formula. And like you, I don't know if that's a good thing, because I almost feel like, have I been doing it so long that I'm now set in my ways, and that I shoot. I don't shoot, I guess, weddings the same way, because weddings are very different, but my lens choices and my decisions I make on the day are very similar. I don't sort of deviate too much, because I know what works, and I know what lenses do what, and now I
think it's good to be open to change and stuff, but what you've got to remember is, like, because I could say, oh no, Leanne, no, you've got to like try and use different lenses, and try with a 130 and try with a 20 mil, and push your creative boundaries and stuff. But you've spent the last 15 years working out what works well for you. So, so I think it's good to keep an open mind and try new things in different environments, and if you've got time to experiment and stuff. But, movie directors, like if you think of, like, I don't know, Christopher Nolan and Wes Anderson, they're completely different directors. And obviously the content that they shoot's different, and the stories they shoot's different, the scripts are different, but they have their own like approach to the actual final product. And do you have that when you like shoot your work? Because like there's so many different types. I mentioned the directors because they're essentially doing the exact same job, and there's many filmmakers doing the exact same job that make completely different types of wedding films, and there's a lot that goes into the post-production to give the style and that you want. But do you have a specific, how would you describe your approach and style to your wedding films?
So I think you're absolutely right. We all a lot of us have the same kit now, and we go to the same venues sometimes and shoot very similar weddings, whether it be a black tie wedding or an Asian wedding or a Jewish wedding. But I think I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, it is in the edit, because we're getting those key moments. We're shooting them in very similar ways. But for me, music is just so important. So I'll I've got Spotify playlists and
Is
any
it this
song.
you when you say music, you're relating to the music on the wedding video,
Yeah.
on
So
the wedding films? Yeah,
yeah, music choices, because I just feel like it sets the tone. And so there's something, even though weddings are similar in a sense that they're getting married at the same venues, but they're so unique in their own. Obviously, the audio helps because they're saying different things, especially if you've got personalised vows and really good speeches. I mean, that makes a massive difference. But I think the ingredients of when you've got that, and rather than looking at it as because you could look at, say, one venue, say Sign Park, and see someone at someone's film, get inspired and see what they've done. But then when you have your footage and your couple with their vows and their audio and their moments, they couldn't be further apart because they're different people, they've got different, everything's so different. So for me, it's about what sort of vibe I get from that couple. And I think music just plays such a big part of that. I mean, I love music anyway, and I've got a playlist where even on the day, or songs that I like. So for instance, I just did one at a family home 2 weeks ago, a bride, and she was really, really into music, and they had like a marquee in the grounds of her husband-to-be's house, and she did everything. She did all of the tables herself and but the thing that I remember the most about it was the music. And so I was like, the first thing I said to her when we messaged each other after the wedding is like, you need to send me your Spotify. And she's so organized. She's got all of these different playlists, and she's got one for cleanings, when she's cleaning her house. She's got a playlist for everything, and she's so into her music. And it was like every song in the drinks reception, I was like, I love this type of song. And that particular one was beach playlist.
Okay.
So every song was just like, sounded like you're in this cool beach club, and it was all like percussion and all these different instruments. And I was like, I just loved all of it. And so I've got her playlist now, and there's so many songs that I've made my own because I'm like, I love that. And I think when you put that to wedding footage with a little bit of audio, and it all just comes to life and it feels them, because it's like, it's just that moment from the day, like the music, that just for me just ties it all together. And then I'm not a very good grader. Like I'm quite lazy when it comes to grading. Like I do a lot in camera, apart from like I don't have like strong LUTs or anything. It's definitely something I want to get better at. But I know that some people, it's like one of my friends, it's all about the grade. He'll work so hard on that to make his films different.
Do you know what? I would love to. There's an experiment that I want to do, but it's impossible to do it. But I would love to have a wedding, right? Someone has a wedding, a couple, and they have a wedding. It's at a nice venue, wherever. But like 20 different photographers shoot the exact same wedding, and everything happens the same. Like the moments happen the same. The speeches are the same. The lighting's the same. And then just look at all the different galleries, like, do you know what I mean, from a photographer standpoint. And I guess that would be interesting from a videographer standpoint, just to see like how someone else would have shot that wedding in that moment. And especially if you get two ends of the scale, like if you get like from a photography standpoint, at least like a super repertoire documentary photographer where everything's gritty and exposed, to someone who's like just completely fine art and editorial, and then just compare the two wedding galleries. I just think that'd be fascinating to do that.
I saw something on Instagram. It might have been Ray Roman Films, but it's a really, really well-known wedding filmmaker who had got a raw shot and sent it to 5 of the best, in his opinion, best filmmakers in the world, and they all graded it, and it was so different. So I know Philip White did it, and I know that I want to say Fire and Ice, Fiora Films, and it was like all these incredible, and it was just amazing, and like all really well-known videographers all graded this one clip. And that was quite cool because it's just seen.
I might try that idea actually, just for fun. Just to experiment. It's interesting to do. But one of the other questions I was going to ask you actually was what matters to you personally when it comes to filmmaking. But I think you've kind of just answered that with the audio. Do you think that's one of the most important things to you with your actual work as well? How you put audio in there?
Yeah. I think for me, it's really, really important that it's personal, because I think you can fall into a bit of a trap of going into a wedding and already having an idea of the film that you want to make as a videographer. And I think I've done that before. I've been guilty of it, and it's never ended well, because they're the ones that they come back with a little bit of feedback and they're like, oh, not sure about that. And I think it's probably because it was my choice, like, you know, the music or whatever. I kind of ran with something that I think is cool, but actually now I try and think, I just want them to be happy. You know, I want to create work I'm proud of, but I really want it to feel like their wedding. So it's just finding those bits that they're really going to relate to and like really get the feels from, like, because it's there, you know, whether it be, I don't know, could start with some of the confetti. Like if you have a chat with the couple and the bride says, you know, my mum's been pressing roses for the last, you know, 12 months. You know, they give you all these little details about their day that is just about them. And then making sure that starting the opening shot is like handfuls of just this confetti. It's like, that's just going to mean so much to her, because it's, you know, and it's nice showing off the venue and doing the drone shots and doing that. Obviously, we've got to do it. But I think for me, I don't want to make generic. I don't want to make films that look like everybody else's.
Yeah.
I really want to put films out there for my couples that they're going to love, but also that I know are different, and that hopefully people think, oh yeah, that's, you know, they can see the difference between my work and somebody else's.
Yeah, I was speaking to a photographer the other day who was saying that when he speaks to his couples before the wedding, he asks them for 3 words that will describe their wedding. So they might say romantic, elegant, and editorial. Like that's how they want the feeling of their wedding to be. Or, you know, they might say, you know, crazy, wild, and I don't know, I'm struggling for adjectives, but you know, and he asks them these questions, and then he knows that on the wedding day, like he has that in his subconscious when he's making the pictures. Like, do you know what I mean? I thought that was a really cool tip, actually.
Yeah.
But you were just saying then about like you sort of you're kind of answering the questions before I'm asking them in a strange way, because my next question was, what matters to you what matters to your clients when they're picking Leanne Perrins for the film? Like what is it that them that they like about your work, that they or like about you, do you think?
I think obviously they're only going on your portfolio, aren't they? So, you know, we all put our best work out. We all you know, the weddings that we love the most. And I think
do you Zoom with your couples? Do they arrange it? Do your couples ever just book you over the thing, or do you all, is it like, well, what percentage just do you have like a call with first?
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I suppose if it's through a planner, I sometimes don't speak to them until the wedding day, see them until the wedding day. If it's just, and I definitely have a call with them at some point in the process, whether it be, you know, the final call 6 weeks before to go through the schedule. I like to, just because you don't have that situation where you walk in and you're like, sorry, who's the bride? You know,
yeah. I've done that before, even after a Zoom call, though, but it's just been that long. And then like maybe she's got a sister who looks like just like her, and I've gone in and gone, hey, Hannah, and they're like, oh no, I'm Hannah's sister, and I'm like, I knew that. I'm just kidding.
Knowing who they are straight away, I think it just you start off on the right foot rather than going in asking, trying to find who the bride is, and actually they're there and you haven't noticed them. Like it is nice to Zoom, but I think going back to your question about my style, I think what I always like to do is just get that emotion across, and from what I've gathered from the couples that have booked me based on my portfolio is that they just feel like you know, that they connect for whatever reason. I think it's maybe maybe music choice, maybe it's the going to the root of the emotion, like not just relying on the venue or the location, or like actually just going straight to what that couple are all about. And I like to do that, and I hope to do that well. That's always my aim.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good.
Just the emotional stuff.
How would you describe your work in 3 words?
Oh God, Steve, I have no idea. I don't want to be cheesy. 3 words. Fun. And I have to be careful that I'm not always like going down that funnel, because I noticed that my website desperately needs updating and has been for years and years and years. So I put a lot of like teasers out on Instagram, and I tend to do like if there's a bit of live music or having fun. But I think I love that. I'm more about the fun than.
Yeah, I think you think about it, like it's good to have that as a priority word, I think, because you know most weddings have got a strong fun element to them, don't they? So to have fun in your work is good. Yeah,
and even those moments that could be quite romantic, and you know, I try and do things with a couple if I get a chance with the photographer, you know, to bring out the you know, these few little tactics we do just to get them laughing and get that fun across. Hopefully timeless. Like I really do try not to get led by trends, and I like even just my colours are just very punchy. I don't work too hard on a grade or anything because I just want them to be timeless. I want them to still feel like their wedding in, you know, years and years to come. And I don't know what the third word would be.
Let's think about it.
I should probably
when you update your website, these are the 3 words that are going to go at the top of the website.
I know. I'm actually in the process of having talks at the moment with the lady who's doing my new branding, and she's going to ask me all these things, and I'm going to be like, I don't know.
Well, you know. I had a look at your work before this interview because I wanted to try and do a little bit of research, and I used the word sincere. I think it's it's dead like, you know what I mean? I know like you like choosing you mentioned already about choosing the audio, and it's even visually looking at the work. It's even more sincere now that I know how much effort you've put into the audio, because the audio to the films means nothing to me when I look at your films, you know, and I know you're choosing that for your clients. So I would use the word sincere, but that's, I mean, you can choose your third word at a later time.
Yeah, sincere, honest, real. Yeah.
So what would you say to Leanne Perrins if she was just 12 months into her business now and you could go back and speak to her? What advice would you give her?
I think that maybe not listen to too much noise, I think, but that's really hard to say. Like, I'm very aware that I have been doing this a long time, and it's very easy for someone who's been doing it for, say, 10, 12, you know, doing it for the large part of their career to tell people what to do. But I think, you know, that's only because you've got all that experience behind you and you've got all that knowledge and stuff. So then
it's the filter system that's the problem, because you obviously, when you're starting out, you want to listen to as much as possible.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, you want to learn as much as you can. You want to speak to as many people as you can, and you want to network and etc. But sometimes I completely agree with what you're saying. Sometimes it can be overwhelming to digest so much stuff.
Yeah, and to know which bits I think it's great to listen but then know what you're going to then take on, like, you know, because there's a lot of talk about, you know, like people who are established and who've done really well will say, don't work for free, or don't charge under this amount of money, you know, make sure that, you know, we're all charging it. And you think, well, that's easy for you to say because you're fine, you've got this portfolio behind you, you're probably always going to get work, you know, you've already made it. But to someone 12 months in, oh my God, work for free. Like, build up your portfolio, do whatever works for you. Don't listen to anybody else. Like, everybody has got their own unique sort of business model, how they want to market themselves, what they want to achieve and where they want to go in this industry. And I don't think it's right for anyone to say, do this, do that, and this is how you do it, because there's no right or wrong way. And I did a lot for free, you know, especially when I wanted to travel and I really wanted to do destination weddings before I had my son. I was like all about the destination. Now I don't want to travel as much, but before. And so I did loads, you know, sometimes expenses only, sometimes not, sometimes I was out of pocket, and that would be like, you know, cursed. And that would be, you know, probably get attacked in a Facebook group about, you know, being 200 quid down because I've, you know, done a wedding for expenses only, and actually I've had to pay for my own parking, I've had to pay for the tolls, I've had to pay for this, I've had to pay. But I wanted that wedding. And like we were saying earlier, you know, when you're a filmmaker or you're doing it because you love it, sometimes it doesn't feel like work. So if you know you're going to get something out of that job or that client or that, you know, whether it be weddings or corporate, like if you're enjoying it, we're all making art, like we're doing what we love, then who's to say you should be paid for that? If you're enjoying it and you think it's going to benefit your portfolio, absolutely do stuff.
Yeah, and not only just your portfolio, and in my actual interview, which you can find on the website as well, and I just want to reiterate it because you've brought up the whole free thing. In my first year, I did a ton of free engagement shoots. I think I did 24 free engagement shoots, which is a lot of time to sacrifice, basically, in terms of driving to some of these locations, post-processing the images, getting to know the couple. You know, sometimes I did quite a few of them at Formby Beach, so I'd have to drive to the beach, then I'd have to walk around for a couple of hours, and I did so much for free. But from those, not only did I book weddings from those through, you know, the actual people asked me if I was available for their wedding, but even if I hadn't booked any work through that, I learned so much about myself as a photographer. I learned how to shoot in different lighting conditions. I learned a lot about myself and how to work with people. So how I can connect with couples improved from that. So I got a lot out of that, even though I didn't get any monetary value out of it. But in the long term, I've got the greatest monetary value out of it, because all of the money I've earned in the last 3 to 5 years is thankful to everything I learned doing that for free. So sometimes you got to sit back and just think about what is the ultimate return on investment here. Like, because some people are like, oh, if you're not getting paid X amount for doing the job, then you're devaluing your work. But you can invest in yourself, like, do you know what I mean? And as a creative and as a human being, and like, I did all that for free, and I'd do it again, and I'd do twice as much of it if I could go back. I'm not telling it. That's not my advice, is to do everything for free. You've got to weigh up your options, and sometimes people's personal circumstances are different. But if I could have come back, I'd have done it all again.
Yeah. Oh no, there's still a number of types of jobs I would definitely do for free, and just because I enjoy it, I like it, and then there's plenty of other jobs that you can charge a lot more because you don't want to do it. Like, it just reminded me of, like, years ago, filming bathroom show. I used to have this job doing bathroom showrooms. It was like the worst job ever. It was the most uninspiring and, like, not one bit creative. But I used to think to myself, okay, well, if I do like 2 or 3 bathrooms, that would be like the money jobs, and then it would free me up, because I wouldn't always look at, like, every single time I pick up my camera, I've got to earn money. I'd be like, well, I can earn money doing other things. It might not be creative, I might not be getting anything. It's just a money job. It's literally filming toilets and sink taps and all stuff. But it was so crap, but it was money. It's like, that's fine. It's just it's a balance. But
amazing. Well, listen. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, or anyone who's watching. I'm trying to keep these videos not too long. So thanks for everything, Leanne. And if anyone else wants to know more about Leanne, you can find out more about her on our website. And yeah, thanks so much for your time, Leanne.